Now that all of my seams are pressed, we're ready to start again. So the next step is maybe the most challenging of the tote bag. We are going to be making the T shape that creates the flat bottom of the bag. So I did an 1.5 inch measurement. I would say 1.5 inches or 2 inches is probably good, but you can make it as wide as you like. What I'm going to do is I'm going to open up that little pocket that it made, and I'm going to distribute it equally so that the seam of the side seam and the base seam line up exactly on top of each other. Then I'm going to spread the seam allowance just like so that everything is in line. So my bottom seam with the side seam, they'll kind of make a little V when I pull the seam allowance apart. It does take some finessing, so you can be patient with it. Okay, so it should look like this when I have everything. I'm going to push the fullness of the bag like out of the way. I don't really want to stitch that. I am going to stitch across this flat shape now. So I should have a V. I should be able to see the base, the bottom of the bag, that stitch line. And I'm going to capture all the seam allowance here. I want to make sure that I capture some of this V right here. That'll ensure that I have a closed corner of my bag rather than a hole in the opening. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just pinch it really tightly and then place it underneath my presser foot. And I'm going to stitch it at 1/2 inch. I'm capturing all of those layers, so just go straight across. Okay. Stitching and back stitching at the beginning and end. So it should look like this. This will be the very bottom. We'll have our seam allowance. This will be our side seam allowance that's folded down to create that V. And when I peer inside, they should line up and I should not have a hole there. So I really need to make sure I capture that V. So now I'm going to do the exact same thing on the other side. Again, be patient with it. It can be like awkward to kind of pinch all of these layers and line them up. I'm trying basically to squish this in on itself so that it lines up just like that. And then fold it down. Perfect. That one actually came together easier than the first one. So find a method that works for you. Again, when I stitch across, I'm capturing this V and I'm stitching and back stitching at the beginning and end at 1/2 inch. Find a method that works for you and then repeat it. That's all that sewing is finding out your own like language of techniques and patterning and then making it work for you and your project, getting really familiar with it. Okay, so when I'm done with that, this piece is my shell. I should have my 2 corners totally sewn. My top is still open, so I'll allow this to be open. I'm going to repeat the exact same process with the lining and facing side. The measurements are exactly the same, and that's really important. Everything needs to be the same because now our shell is equal to our lining and facing pieces. So again, I'm just going to kind of smush these on top of each other so that those seams line up. When I think they do, I'm going to fold this open just like so, and now I'm ready to stitch across right there. Same process for the other side now. Just like that. now all 4 of my corners are completely sewn between the shell and the lining and facing pieces. Now I am going to take my pieces to the iron, and I'm going to iron all the way around the facing and the shell, pressing my seam allowance down towards the raw edges, towards the inside, so that it'll look clean on the right side of the fabric.